I thought the alien woman was innocent when she invited me to her home. Captain Marcus Cole stood at the edge of the clearing, his boots sinking slightly into the soft soil of Varith, a newly discovered planet. The planet was far from Earth, located on the edge of human-explored space. It was a beautiful world, with towering trees that shimmered under the light of two suns. Strange flowers bloomed with iridescent colors, and the air smelled faintly of fresh rain. For all its beauty, though, it felt unfamiliar, almost alien. Yet Marcus had always been a man who thrived in the unknown. His mission was simple: gather data, make contact with any intelligent species, and establish the first human presence on Varith. But so far, nothing about this planet had been what he expected. The atmosphere seemed too perfect, too calm, and the only inhabitants he had encountered were a small group of alien species, each more peaceful and gentle than the last. That's when he met Elira. She had appeared from the shadows of the trees, a soft figure in the distance. At first, Marcus hadn't thought much of it. There were plenty of alien creatures in this world after all. But when she stepped closer, he realized she wasn't just any alien. Her smooth, silvery skin seemed to glow under the twin suns, and her large, dark eyes reflected the stars as though she held the universe within them. Elira was unlike any being he had ever seen before. She moved with grace, her every step purposeful yet effortless. "Greetings, human," she said, her voice soft, melodic, almost like a song. Marcus blinked, unsure how to respond. His training told him to remain cautious. But her eyes were inviting, and for a moment his professional instincts faltered. He smiled, offering a handshake. "Captain Marcus Cole of the Terran Exploration Fleet. I was just scouting the area." He adjusted his helmet, aware that the translator device was working perfectly, allowing him to understand her clearly. Elira tilted her head, studying him curiously. "You've come from the stars, then, to explore," he nodded. "Yes, it's what we do, to understand, to learn, and maybe to meet others like you." The alien woman's smile was warm, genuine. "Then you should come to my home. I would be honored to share what I can with you." Marcus hesitated. There was something odd about the way she spoke, but it wasn't threatening. On the contrary, it was the kindness in her words that made him second-guess his instincts. She was inviting him into her home, an alien world far from Earth. A part of him wondered if this was a trap, but the other part of him, the curious explorer, wanted to know more. "I'd be happy to," he said after a moment. "Lead the way." Elira smiled again, the motion softening the lines of her face. "Follow me." She turned, and Marcus followed her through the forest. As they walked, the path beneath them seemed to grow more intricate, the trees taller and denser, their branches arching overhead like a natural tunnel. Strange creatures flitted in and out of the shadows, their eyes glowing softly in the dim light. The air was alive with the sounds of chirping, buzzing, and the rustle of leaves. Every step Marcus took, he could feel the difference in the air. It wasn't like Earth. The planet seemed alive in a way he had never experienced before. It wasn't just the flora and fauna. The very atmosphere seemed to hum with energy, as though the land itself was breathing. After what felt like an hour of walking, Elira led Marcus to a clearing. In the center stood a structure unlike anything he had ever seen. It was crystalline, shimmering like ice under the twin suns. Its walls seemed to shift, changing shape depending on the angle of the light. It wasn't built in any recognizable style. There were no obvious doors, no visible windows, just smooth, flowing surfaces that seemed to invite you in. Elira turned to him, her eyes glowing softly. "Welcome to my home." Marcus was in awe. He had seen alien architecture before, but this was something else entirely. The structure seemed to blend with the landscape, its smooth edges blending perfectly with the natural environment. It felt like a place where the laws of nature and technology were one and the same. "It's beautiful," Marcus said, his voice filled with wonder. He had to admit he wasn't expecting anything like this. Elira smiled again, a twinkle in her eye. "Thank you. I hoped you would like it." She led him inside, and Marcus was immediately struck by the beauty of the interior. The walls were lined with soft, glowing crystals, casting an otherworldly light. The air inside was cool but not cold, refreshing, almost therapeutic. There were no furniture pieces like the ones he was used to. Instead, the space was open and flowing, with what appeared to be bioluminescent plants growing from the floor, their light pulsing gently in the dimness. Elira motioned for him to sit on a soft, cushion-like structure near the center of the room. "Please relax. I will prepare something for us." Marcus sat down, still taking in the strange surroundings. He had always known that first contact would be an experience he would never forget, but nothing had prepared him for this. He wasn't sure what he expected from an alien world, but this was unlike any human settlement or alien species he had encountered before. The air seemed thick with mystery, but it wasn't oppressive, it was inviting. It made him feel at ease, almost too at ease. Elira moved to one side of the room where a glowing orb floated in midair. With a gesture, she beckoned it toward her. The orb split open, revealing a shimmering, golden liquid. She poured it into 2 crystalline cups, one for her and one for Marcus. "I've prepared a drink for us," she said, holding one of the cups out to him. "It is a traditional Vethar beverage. It will help you relax and open your mind." Marcus looked at the drink. It was glowing like the rest of the room, but something about it seemed off. He had been trained to be cautious, especially in alien situations like this. But Elira's smile was so warm, her presence so calming, that the hesitation he felt before seemed to fade. He took the cup from her and with a small nod raised it to his lips. The liquid was sweet, with a strange aftertaste that reminded him of fruit and spice. It was unlike anything he had ever tasted. The warmth spread through him quickly, and for a moment Marcus felt lighter, more relaxed. His muscles, which had been tense from the journey, began to loosen. Elira sat beside him, her eyes never leaving him. She seemed to be watching him closely, as though studying his reaction. The warmth of the drink was beginning to sink deeper, and Marcus felt his eyelids grow heavy. "You look tired, Captain Cole," she said, her voice low. "The journey must have worn you out. You may rest here. We can talk more later." Marcus, still feeling the effects of the drink, nodded. He hadn't realized how tired he was until now. The soft glow of the room, the peacefulness of the atmosphere, and Elira's presence were all so comforting. Maybe this wasn't such a bad idea, he thought. Maybe this was a chance to finally experience something different, something new. As he leaned back, the last thought in his mind was that he felt safe here, safe with Elira. But little did he know this place and this woman were not as innocent as they seemed. Captain Marcus Cole's senses began to blur as he sank deeper into the strange warmth that spread from his body, a heavy sensation creeping through his limbs. His eyes felt increasingly heavy, but his mind was still alert, still trying to process everything around him. He glanced at Elira. She sat beside him, her posture relaxed, but her eyes never left him. Her gaze was intense, searching, yet somehow comforting. Marcus wasn't sure why, but he felt a deep, almost inexplicable trust in her. He should have been more cautious. Something about this place felt different, strange. But Elira's presence was too disarming. The room, lit by the soft glow of the bioluminescent plants, seemed to pulse with energy. The walls, shimmering in the low light, almost seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting slightly. It was subtle, but there was no mistaking it. The air here felt alive, unlike any environment he had ever been in. Everything around him felt both unreal and utterly tangible, as though he was dreaming but could still feel the weight of his body in the chair. Elira spoke softly, her voice like a melody. "You look weary, Marcus. The journey must have been long for you. Do you not find peace here?" I think I do," Marcus said, his voice slow. His words felt heavier than usual, as if they were sinking into the air around him. Elira smiled, her lips curving in a way that made her look even more radiant. Good. I want you to feel at ease, to learn what my people know, to see our world through my eyes. The way she spoke seemed to drift into his mind, and he found himself nodding. There was something magnetic about her presence, something that made it hard to resist. She reached for the cup beside her, taking a sip of the golden liquid, then placed it back on the glowing surface next to her. She was watching him closely, her dark eyes glinting as if she were waiting for something, though he couldn't tell what. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Marcus asked, his voice tinged with doubt. His instincts were nagging at him now, but they felt like distant echoes, growing weaker as the fog in his mind thickened. Elira's smile only deepened, though her eyes flickered for a brief moment, almost imperceptible but not missed by Marcus. It's the only way to understand. To truly understand each other, we must first share. I've shared with you what I can. Now you share with me. Let me see your world. Let me see you, Marcus. Her words sent a shiver through his body. He should have felt alarmed, but the warm haze in his mind only made him feel sleepy, too comfortable. He felt almost as if the very air around him was coaxing him to relax, to forget his mission, to forget that he had come here to learn and document. But Marcus's instincts still struggled to break through the fog, and just as Elira reached out to take his hand, he pulled back. The sudden motion seemed to snap him from the trance-like state he had been drifting in. "What do you mean, see me?" Marcus asked, his voice firmer now, though still clouded by the strange effects of the drink. Elira's smile didn't falter, but there was a subtle shift in the air, an odd tension that made Marcus sit up straighter. "I mean what I say, Captain. To understand, we must first connect, to see what lies beneath the surface." Her voice became almost hypnotic again, but Marcus was determined to stay focused. He could feel the heaviness lifting from his mind, and the confusion of the earlier moments started to fade. "Something's not right here," he muttered, his breath quickening as he stood up, his hand steadying himself against the glowing table. Elira remained seated, her posture elegant as ever. "You don't have to worry, Marcus. You're safe here. You're meant to be here." Marcus's gaze darted to the door, then back to Elira. His heart rate quickened as something deep within him told him that leaving now was the only option. But the drink had dulled his body's reflexes, and his legs felt like lead as he took a step forward, only to stumble slightly. "Your body is tired," Elira said softly, almost soothingly. "You've been traveling for so long. Why not stay a little longer, rest?" Marcus wanted to protest, but his words seemed caught in his throat. His mind was clear enough now to realize that he had made a mistake. This had been a trap. He had been lured here under false pretenses. Elira, so gentle and kind, was not what she seemed. Before he could make another move, Elira stood, her steps fluid and silent, moving with a speed that belied her serene appearance. She was in front of him before he could react, blocking his path to the door. "Where do you think you're going, Marcus?" she asked, her voice low, almost a whisper. The air in the room felt heavier now, charged with an unknown energy. Marcus's instincts screamed at him to escape, but the effect of the drink still clung to him, slowing his reactions, clouding his thoughts. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his pulse, but it was no use. "Elira, what are you?" he demanded, his voice trembling slightly. Elira's expression softened. "I am what I must be, what my people need. You see, Marcus, you are not the first to come here, you won't be the last." Her words sank into him like a stone. "What do you mean?" she sighed, almost wistfully. "The Vethar are a dying race, Captain. We have no choice but to seek others to feed, for our survival, and you human are the most promising source. Your life force, your energy, it's pure. It is what we need." Marcus's mind raced, trying to process her words. "Feed, you want to take my life." Elira's gaze was full of both sorrow and determination. "It's not as simple as that, Marcus. I do not want to harm you, but my people, we are dying. Our planet has given us no choice but to seek what we need to survive." He staggered back, his heart pounding. This was no peaceful race, no gentle culture. This was a species that had been hiding their true nature behind a mask of kindness, a species willing to feed off others to stay alive. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" Marcus's voice shook with anger now, a clarity returning to his mind. "Why lie?" Elira's face softened, and for the first time Marcus saw a hint of regret in her eyes. "I did not lie, Marcus. I merely withheld the truth. I wanted to show you who we are before you had to make a decision. I wanted you to understand. But you're using me. You're using humans," Marcus snapped. His mind was clearing rapidly now, adrenaline pushing through the haze the drink had created. Elira's eyes flashed with something darker, but her voice remained calm. "We are doing what we must, Marcus, just as you would do anything for the survival of your people, just as you would protect your own." The silence that followed was thick with tension. Marcus's mind raced. There was no way he could leave this place without exposing the truth. He had to stop her. But how? How could he fight someone who was as much a part of this world as the air itself? "I won't let you do this," he said, his voice steady now. Elira's gaze hardened for a brief moment. "Then, Captain, you must understand that you cannot leave this place until I have what I need." The battle had just begun. The air in Elira's home grew heavier as Marcus stared at the alien woman in front of him. His heart raced, his mind frantic. He had known something wasn't right from the moment he'd accepted her invitation. He had let his guard down, let her charm him with her beauty and the warmth of her smile. Now the truth was clear. Elira and her people were not what they seemed. Elira had just confessed what Marcus had feared. The Vethar were not the peaceful beings they had appeared to be. They weren't here to welcome humanity with open arms. They were here for survival, and that survival came at a cost. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Marcus demanded, his voice sharp. The anger he felt was raw and immediate. Elira had played him, had lured him here under false pretenses. "I did not want to hurt you, Marcus," Elira replied, her voice soft but firm. "But you have to understand, we've been dying for generations. Our people are weak. Our world is crumbling. We needed someone to save us." Marcus clenched his fists, trying to keep the rising frustration in check. "So, you think feeding off me will save you? Is that it?" Elira's face softened, but there was a coldness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. "It's not just about feeding. It's about restoring what's been lost. Our people have a rare ability, an ancient power. We can take energy from other beings, and by doing so, we can bring life back to the land, heal our world. We've used this power for centuries, but the land is no longer enough." Marcus's mind spun as he processed what she said. "You're saying your whole civilization is built on feeding off others?" Elira shook her head slowly. "It's not the whole truth, but yes, it is part of who we are. Our ability to take energy, to give life in return, it's how we've survived. But that survival has come at a price. Over time, our power has faded and we've had to become more desperate. And when I saw you, human, I saw the potential to save my people." Marcus stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. He had come to Vareth with a sense of wonder, eager to make first contact with an alien civilization. He had imagined exchanges of knowledge, perhaps even friendships. But now he saw the truth, that his people weren't just explorers, they were vulnerable, exposed, and ripe for exploitation. "How many others have you taken energy from?" Marcus asked, the words slipping from his mouth before he could stop them. Elira's gaze darkened. "You are the first human to visit this planet, Marcus, but not the first to fall under our care." Her eyes flicked toward the far wall, where strange markings, symbols that looked like a mix of ancient runes and alien hieroglyphs, glowed faintly in the dim light. "There have been others, explorers, travelers, but none of them were quite like you." Marcus felt a chill creep up his spine. "What do you mean?" Elira's lips curled into a smile that was both haunting and beautiful. "You, Marcus, are different. Your species, you have a purity in your energy. It's unlike anything I've felt before. It's why I chose you." Her words hit him like a physical blow. He had thought himself just a simple explorer, someone sent to do his job and return home. Now he understood. He was nothing more than a prize, a source of energy for an alien race that would stop at nothing to survive. "You've been using us, all along. You never cared about humanity, only what you could take," Marcus said, his voice tight with disgust. Elira's face softened, almost apologetic. "I did not want this, Marcus. I did not want to deceive you, but it is not just our lives that hang in the balance. My people are dying, and I had no choice but to do what was necessary. I needed you to understand." Marcus shook his head, his thoughts racing. He had been taken in, manipulated by a being who seemed kind and gentle, but who was ultimately just another predator. He had to escape. There was no other option. With a deep breath, he turned toward the door. He didn't know how he was going to get out, but he had to try. His ship was still in the clearing outside, waiting for him. All he had to do was reach it, and he could get back to the safety of the human fleet. But as he stepped forward, Elira blocked his path again. Her movements were swift, almost too fast for him to track. She stood before him, her eyes filled with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. "You can't leave, Marcus," she said softly. "Not now. You felt the bond between us, haven't you? The connection that's been growing stronger. I've shown you my world, my truth. You can't walk away from that." Marcus took a step back. "I don't care about your world. I care about surviving." Her expression didn't change. "That is exactly why you cannot leave. You don't understand yet, but you will. You will be the key to our survival or to your own destruction." Marcus's chest tightened. He had no idea what she meant, but the words felt like a warning. "Why do you care so much about me?" he asked, his voice strained. "Why me?" Elira's eyes softened. "Because you are special, Marcus. You and your kind, your energy is more powerful than anything we've known. We've seen it in the way humans explore the stars, in the strength of your spirit. You are the future. I only wanted to ensure that we could share in it." Marcus looked at her, his mind reeling. Was it true? Was he truly the key to the Vethar's future, or was he just a tool to be used and discarded? He could feel the weight of the situation pressing on him, each breath coming heavier as his mind grappled with the impossible decision in front of him. He had come here with no intention of getting involved in an alien conflict, but now it seemed that survival itself had become a game of power and energy. And whether he liked it or not, he was at the center of it all. "I can't help you," Marcus said, his voice filled with resolve. "You have to find another way." Elira's expression hardened, and for the first time Marcus saw something more than just sadness in her eyes, something darker. "You don't understand, Marcus. You cannot help us because you cannot leave, not unless you make a choice between saving yourself or saving us." Marcus took a step back, the gravity of her words settling heavily on his shoulders. He had no choice now. Escape was impossible unless he played her game, but playing it meant risking everything. As Elira's presence loomed over him, Marcus knew one thing for sure. He was caught in something far bigger than himself. And the stakes had never been higher. Marcus stood frozen, the weight of Elira's words pressing down on him like 1,000 tons of stone. Every instinct screamed at him to act, to do something, anything, to escape from the situation that had ensnared him. His heart hammered in his chest, and his breath came in shallow gasps. Elira's presence seemed to surround him, her power, her calmness, almost suffocating. "You don't have to be afraid, Marcus," Elira said softly, almost too softly. Her voice was gentle, soothing, but there was something in the way she said it that sent a cold chill down his spine. "I don't want to hurt you. I want to help you, don't you see? We can both survive, you and I together." Marcus clenched his fists at his sides. He wasn't afraid of her. He was afraid of what she could do. She had already manipulated him, pulled him in with her charm and beauty, and now she wanted him to make a choice, to help her people or to walk away and condemn her race to extinction. The pressure was unbearable. You're asking me to decide the fate of your people. Marcus's voice was tight, filled with disbelief. You've tricked me, used me, and now you want me to help you save your species. No. Elira's expression faltered for a split second, her calm demeanor cracking just enough for Marcus to see the desperation beneath it. I didn't want it to come to this. I didn't want to force you. But you must understand, Marcus. We are running out of time. You're the only one who can save us. Your energy, your life force, it's the key. Your people have been using other races like this for centuries, haven't you? Marcus shot back. His anger, now mixed with disgust, flared in his chest. You've been feeding off them, draining them to survive. But you didn't think about what that would mean for us. You didn't think about what it would mean for me. Elira's face softened again, and for a moment Marcus thought she might apologize. But then her eyes grew darker, colder. You don't understand. Our people are dying. If I don't do this, everything we've worked for will be lost. You're the last hope, Marcus. I never wanted it to be like this, but I don't have a choice anymore. Marcus's mind raced. He couldn't just walk away from this. It wasn't that simple. He was trapped, and no matter how much he wanted to leave, he knew that Elira wouldn't let him go without a fight. His gaze darted around the room, looking for anything that could give him an edge, something he could use to escape. That's when he saw it, the faint glow of his emergency beacon, still attached to his suit. It wasn't much, but it was something. The beacon would send out a distress signal, and his ship would pick it up. He didn't know how long it would take for the crew to reach him, but he had to take that chance. Elira saw his eyes flick toward the beacon and quickly stepped closer, blocking his view. Don't do it, Marcus, she warned, her voice low and dangerous. You won't make it. You're already too weak. The energy here, it's not what you think. It will drain you. If you try to escape, you'll never survive. Marcus's pulse quickened as he realized she was right. The strange energy in the air had already been affecting him. The longer he stayed, the more sluggish and weak he felt. But he had to act. He had no other choice. With a swift motion, he grabbed the beacon from his suit and pressed the button. The light blinked once, then twice, sending out the signal. Elira's eyes widened in anger. No, you think you can escape that easily? Marcus didn't respond. He turned and sprinted toward the door, his legs heavy and slow, his mind clouded by the lingering effects of the drink she had given him. He could feel her presence behind him, the weight of her gaze pressing into his back. But he had to keep going. He couldn't afford to stop. Elira's voice rang out behind him, a final warning. You don't understand, Marcus. There is no escape. You will regret this. But Marcus didn't stop. He burst through the door, running out into the open air. The twin suns were just beginning to set, casting a soft orange glow over the forest. The world around him was eerily silent. The bioluminescent plants seemed to glow brighter now, their light pulsing in time with his racing heart. He ran through the forest, his breath coming in sharp, painful gasps. His legs ached, his body screamed for rest, but he kept pushing forward. The trees blurred around him as he moved, his eyes fixed on the distant clearing where his ship waited. He could make it. He had to. As he neared the clearing, the sound of movement behind him grew louder. Elira was following him, her footsteps swift and certain. She was gaining on him, and despite his best efforts, Marcus felt the familiar sense of panic claw at his chest. She wasn't going to let him escape. But then, just as Elira's figure emerged from the trees, Marcus saw something in the sky, a bright streak of light. It was his ship. The distress signal had been received, and they were coming for him. He pushed forward with everything he had left. His muscles screamed in protest, but the sight of the ship, descending from above, filled him with a new surge of energy. The ship's landing gear touched the ground just as Elira reached him, her hand outstretched to grab his arm. But before she could, Marcus reached the edge of the clearing and collapsed onto the ground. Marcus! Elira's voice was filled with both anger and desperation. She was only a few feet away, but she couldn't cross the threshold that separated her from the ship. The ship's doors opened, and two of Marcus's fellow crew members rushed toward him, pulling him inside. They wasted no time, and the ship's engines roared to life as it lifted off, flying higher and higher into the sky, away from the alien world. As they ascended, Marcus looked out the window, his breath coming in shallow, exhausted gasps. Below him, the planet of Vareth shrank into the distance, the landscape now bathed in the deep purples and blues of twilight. He felt a strange sense of relief, but also something else, something he couldn't quite place. Was it guilt, regret, or was it the knowledge that he had left something behind, something important? He glanced toward the cockpit, where the crew was busy at work, guiding them back into space. But even as he felt the ship move farther away from Vareth, he couldn't shake the feeling that Elira's words had left a lasting mark on him. "You will regret this," she had said. Was it true? Had he made the right choice, or had he doomed an entire species to extinction? He didn't know. All he knew was that he had escaped, but the questions lingered unanswered as the stars stretched out before him.